And welcome into this edition of ACAP Today for the week of September 26th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's edition, we're going to talk about Sober October and making healthy choices in the month of October. We did this about a year ago, actually exactly a year ago, and we're going to catch up with one of the coordinators of last year's Sober October, as well as someone from the local community who's going to help us give us some information about how we can make the most out of Sober October, and we'll do that in just a little bit. But before we get to that, we're first, as we always do at this point in the broadcast, going to first get to the news and information that you can use. And we do so beginning with this piece of information. We wanted to share with you that a new program has been launched through Maine Housing to help families and households who are struggling with helping make water or wastewater payments to their local municipalities or their local water and wastewater treatment folks. This is a program that is limited time and is available to assist Maine residents who have fallen behind or who have had difficulty paying their drinking water and wastewater bills. It provides direct payments to the water and sewer utilities on behalf of the customers. It's available to income qualified Mainers. If you want more information on the program, you can go to the Maine Housing website, which is mainhousing.org. That's the best place to get the information on this new program. ACAP is not administering this program locally. It's being administered statewide through Maine Housing. So Maine Housing is definitely the resource to reach out to there. We also wanted to remind folks of our upcoming activities. We held one of these in Fort Kent recently. These are our expanded partnership, preschool partnership programs where we're collaborating with new school districts in a preschool partnership. We will be holding a collaboration event at our ACAP Center in partnership with RSU 39. This is at the 17 Bowles Road location on October 18th at 2 o'clock. We invite members of the community to come in and learn more about this innovative new partnership that provides full day preschool coverage for children, especially children of working families who can benefit from having a full day of coverage and care. Then on the 20th of October, we'll be in Limestone at the Limestone Community School, where we have a partnership agreement there and are the pre-K provider in partnership with them. And then last but not least, the 25th of October, we'll be in Van Buren at the Van Buren District School to talk about our partnership program there and to announce that to the community as well. So please, if you are in any of these communities and have an interest in learning more about our early care and education programs and how we're partnering with local schools, go on over to those schools on the dates noted there on the screen. You can find out more about this on ACAP's website. We are also joining in partnership with our friends at the Hope and Justice Project for 2 family fun days that are coming up in October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. On the 1st of October, it will kick off at Riverside Park Pavilion in Presque Isle between 11 and 3. Both of these events are family fun day celebrations honoring survivors and their families and also helping to raise awareness about domestic abuse. There'll be games and activities for all ages and there'll also be service providers there that you can speak with. The Holton event is at Monument Park Amphitheater in Holton, and that one is on October 8th. From 11 to 2 p.m. The information is there on your screen if you need to call to get additional information. You can call the Presque Isle or the Holton locations for the Hope and Justice Project. We also, speaking of family fun activities, we want to invite one and all to the corn maze at Gons Farms for this season. They're about halfway through the season now, and they will be wrapping up around Halloween. We encourage folks to go and see the ACAP 50th anniversary corn maze at Gons Farms, play the games in the corn maze and learn more about the work of our agency. You can head on over to Gons on the Fort Fairfield Road in Caribou to enjoy that. We also are looking to remind the community and also seek volunteers for ACAP's community closet that's open 24/7 to anyone in need. It operates on the same principle as our community cupboard, which is right nearby, which is give what you can, take what you need. We do accept clothing donations 24/7. You can just drop them off there in the community closet, or you can bring them into our office if we're open when you drop by. If you are looking to make a donation or would like to donate your time to help us keep it organized and stocked, please contact Kim Garrett Michaud. The information is there on your screen. We are also encouraging folks, especially with the record high fuel prices, to consider applying for the Home Energy Assistance Program. The income qualification guidelines for this year are on your screen there. However, if you have medical expenses, those can be deducted. If you have out-of-pocket medical expenses, I should say. We are trying to fulfill as many appointments as people who call us. We have about a week worth of waiting for some folks, which is not unusual at this time of year. But we want to encourage folks who have never applied to please reach out to us and consider making an application. If you have previously applied and have been awarded, you should have received or will be receiving in the mail your appointment calendar or your appointment card for this year with that date. So please do be on the lookout for that if you haven't received it already. And if you were questioning whether you received it or not, or will be receiving it, please do give us a call. The direct line for our Home Energy Assistance Project or program is 768-3053. A COVID-19 vaccine update. We wanted to remind the community as part of our contract with Maine CDC that no matter which COVID-19 vaccine or how many boosters you've gotten, anyone 12 or older can get updated with their vaccine if it's been 2 months or more since their last dose. And state officials are encouraging that to help protect against the Omicron strain of the virus. Anyone aged 6 months or older are eligible to receive the COVID-19 if they haven't already. For more information, you can go to the State of Maine website listed there on your screen. And if anyone is in need of assistance in registering for a vaccine appointment, our reception team here at ACAP can help with that. Just give us a call at 764-3721. Continuing in our COVID-related news, we wanted to remind folks that if you are looking for free COVID tests, there are 2 websites you can access, covidtest.gov and accesscovidtest.org. We encourage you to have a supply on hand in the event that you need to do a home test at any point in time. And they are regularly refreshing these websites to allow for households to get additional kits as needed. We also want to remind the community that if you are diagnosed with COVID-19 and you cannot leave your home, we do have free help available for things like grocery, meal delivery, and other services that are listed there on your screen. We certainly encourage you to reach out to us at 764-3721, or you can complete the online application under Community Care for Social Supports on the Maine CDC website. And lastly, if we have not talked about something and you are in need of assistance at any point in time and not quite sure what you need, we know that their families are struggling and households are struggling right now, please do give us a call. We have a team of navigators here at the agency that can help connect you with services, not only here at ACAP, but with other community service providers out there, and we would welcome the opportunity to do that. That's this week's news and information you can use. I'm so pleased now to welcome to the program, back to the program, Meg Hegemann, who's ACAP's Coordinator of Programs for Prevention. Meg, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Jason.
And Steph Caverhill, it's wonderful to have you on this your first edition of ACAP Today. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we get to Meg to talk about Sober October and reminding everybody what it's like, tell everyone about your business venture so that we understand and have context of who you are.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason. I appreciate it. So I have I've always been in wellness, and I've taken on a more nutritional role, which, in turn kind of plays in with the Sober October, because when a client comes on with me, I have them do a 6-week sugar detox. And so in the sugar detox, obviously,
So Steph, I think we're having, I don't know if Meg, if you're hearing that, I'm having difficulty with Steph's audio. I'm not sure what's happening with Steph's audio. But while she looks into that, maybe we could sort of, okay. Steph, can you speak just quickly?
Yeah, I don't know if my phone was too close, maybe.
It's much better now. Let's go with that. We'll come back to you in just a minute and maybe have you repeat some of that, but let's get some context from Meg Hegemann first about Sober October to remind folks who maybe don't recall, because we did this last year, but what is Sober October, Meg?
Sure. So Sober October is really a worldwide kind of movement of folks who just want to take a pause and reset, kind of to pursue better health. So it is a worldwide movement. It's approached different ways in different places. Some places use it as a fundraiser. And so if you do a Google search, you'll find all kinds of different things. But for us, we are really using it as an opportunity to support the substance use prevention work that we do. So a huge part of our role at ACAP is to educate the community and to work toward reducing the number of young people who abuse alcohol, to delay the age of onset of use and those kinds of things. And so it's not only a way to raise awareness, but it's also a way to build community and to support people. So it might be a launch into long-term recovery. It might just be a way to make some healthier choices for a month. And so we try to meet people where they are at. And it's very much about raising awareness for us.
And I know that this is sort of the second go around for us here at ACAP and working with the community on Sober October. Tell us about lessons learned and how last year went, and how you're sort of positioning yourself for 2022 based upon what you learned in 2021.
Sure. So last year was our kind of first attempt to do some advertising and marketing around it. We did have about 50 people who signed the pledge. So that's our call to action. We know that people who commit in a way, not only to themselves, but publicly, to make a commitment, and what that's true for anything that we're trying to do, that it increases our chances of fulfilling that promise to ourselves. And so we are encouraging people to sign the pledge. And last year we had about 50 folks who did that. And as part of that pledge, they agreed to talk with a young person about alcohol use, to support someone who is in recovery, or share their commitment to pledge on social media as ways to kind of highlight the number of people who support sober living and taking a break for a month. So my own experience with that is that it was, and I think this is kind of what we're hoping for, right? So I pledged to Sober October, and I will readily admit that, up until that point, I was very much, go home after a hard day, have a glass of wine, celebrations, dinner with friends, have a glass of wine. And so I thought, I certainly didn't think that I, had a problem in any way or anything like that. And yet, for a whole month to not have wine, just realized how much of a struggle it was. And it was all about the habit, which Steph can elaborate on more in a little bit. And so I really found that after a month, my taste buds had changed. So when I went back to a glass of my favorite Cabernet, it did not taste the same. It didn't taste good to me, which was a surprise in November. And then I kind of got back into some habits and decided that, if I'm really going to break the habit, probably I need more than a month. And so personally, I've ended up, I think since March, probably, I haven't had any alcohol. And so things like sleeping better and definitely I deal with depression. And so that has alleviated. And it's interesting because some of the things that we use alcohol for, we think it's going to make us sleep better. We think it's going to make us deal with stress better. And yet it tends to make those things worse. So I'm learning a lot personally. And I think a lot of folks that I've talked with after last year have also said, maybe it's a good time again. We've had some requests to bring it back this year. And so I think it's a good idea to try again and to see maybe this is the impetus that somebody needs to either restart sobriety or again, just to take a pause for a month and see how their body responds and how their brain responds.
Now, Steph, Caverhill, a lot of what Meg was saying really ties into the work that you do in terms of overall wellness. So talk about what the work you do in Sober October really lend to one another.
Yeah, so I'm essentially a habits coach. So, I do a lot of teaching on habits, and not only with alcohol, but with food addiction. Addiction is addiction, no matter what the vice happens to be. And so, with Sober October, it was just, I had done it in September with my group. And then I was talking to Meg, and I was like, I personally did it and I was feeling amazing. So I was like, I'm just going to hop in and help you guys with Sober October because, I'm feeling so good. And, when you start to feel good, you want to spread that. And most people, alcohol is such a social thing for most people that nobody really understands how good they can feel until it's out of their system. And so, taking a week off really isn't enough. And you heard Meg say it, she almost felt like she needed more than just a month. But a month is a great place to start, right? It's a great opportunity. You're doing it with other people, you're doing it within a community. And, it's nice when you feel like you're empowered. It's an empowering thing when you step around that and you take control. It doesn't have control of you.
I want to go back and capture some of what I don't think we heard as clearly because of the audio difficulties we were having earlier in that segment, but I think you were talking about sugar and sugar intake and how that might relate to alcohol as well. And that's not something that we've mentioned other than what you were talking about. So maybe revisit that for us.
Yeah, so obviously alcohol is sugar. So, when you have somebody, sugar is equally as addictive as alcohol or drugs. Actually, sugar lights up your brain just like heroin. So if you look at two images side by side between sugar and heroin, it looks exactly the same. The problem is sugar is socially acceptable and heroin really isn't. However, the marketing companies have figured it out. They've figured it out that sugar is so addictive. So sugar is literally in everything. And so, sugar is in the French fry recipe at McDonald's because they know if you get it, you're going to want more. And so, this plays into alcohol too. There's sugar in alcohol. And so when you have it, you want more. And the thing is people don't understand how habits actually work in the brain. Habits are stored in the back part of your brain. And that's kind of the reptilian part of your brain. So your brain doesn't know good or bad. It just knows that it needs to keep doing it for survival. So essentially, like most people know, that they shouldn't drink that much, right? We all know that. Logically, we can wrap our brain around that, but you're fighting against something so powerful inside of your brain that it's really difficult to make change. So it's really nice when you guys have an initiative like this. Community is so important and people thrive in community. And so it's really great that you guys are doing this. So, to be supportive and encouraging, and who doesn't like free stuff, right? And then you get to work and feel empowered. And I know, like Meg said, it kind of changed how she perceived alcohol after that 1 month. And I've had people stop me at the grocery store that got in on Sober October and they still haven't drank, so that's a beautiful thing, right?
Meg, I know Steph speaks about empowerment and about community. And one of the things that I know that you and the entire prevention team do focus on is also working very closely with youth. And I know that we have some statistics here related to high school. I'm going to bring one up on the screen and maybe you can speak about how Sober October, we're 3 adults here talking about not drinking for the month of October, but how this can also resonate within the youth community.
Sure. So yeah, part of what we do is a lot of data, right? A lot of research to find out if what we're doing is working or not. And so the assumption tends to be, and a lot of people will kind of buy into the concept that, well, it's just a phase. Every young person is going to try alcohol. Every young person is going to drink. And the reality is that almost 80% of Aroostook County high school students reported not drinking alcohol within the past 30 days of when the survey was done. And so we can help change that narrative to say, you know, there are ways to enjoy life without alcohol. There are ways to relieve stress without alcohol. And we as adults need to model that. Some of the interesting things, we had some young people that worked with us this last summer, and they were on the show actually. And they did some assessment of their own peers. And one of the things that they found out is that where peers would not admit to smoking, vaping, using other substances, they would readily admit to using alcohol. So if someone sees that stat and thinks, oh, kids just aren't admitting it, actually the reverse is true. Young people are perfectly willing to admit that they drink alcohol because it's so socially acceptable. And so if anything, that number may go the other way, which is kind of a surprise for us. So the other thing that we found after conversations with young people after that, after we had those folks work with us, is that when parents would then take that information and have conversations with their young people and say, do you get pressured to drink alcohol? You know, do your peers pressure you to drink alcohol? In many cases, they'd say, no, you do. Because parents would be the ones saying, well, I know this is a phase. I know you're going to want to try it. So here, try it at home. And though that might seem like a safer way for young people to try it, because of the brain chemistry and because young people's brains are still developing, they can, like Steph just said, the sugar, the alcohol is going to trigger their brains like any other hardcore substance. And we want to delay that onset because for some youth, if they are already at high risk of substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder, then exposing them earlier is not doing anybody a favor. So we really want to kind of change the narrative, shift the norm to be, it is not only okay to be alcohol free, like life is good, life is fun, and you don't have to buy into the advertising that wants you to think the only way to be cool, the only way to have fun, the only way to celebrate involves alcohol. We can build community without that social lubricant.
So speaking sort of to this point here on the slide that I've just shared on the screen, it's more than like probably more than about just the alcohol, really, Meg, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. And I think this is what Steph does so very well through her nutrition counseling. Is this is really about improving your own life and your family to be the best you.
So Steph, maybe pick us up from there. Talk about the work that you do and how you help people be the best them.
Yeah, it's interesting because most people come because they want to lose weight, but really what they end up with in the end is loving them. I teach them how to love themselves because there's a reason why people eat. There's a reason why people drink. There's a reason why, you know, you're looking to escape some aspect of your life. And so that's, you know, really the gratifying thing for me is being able to give people tools to remember that how amazing they actually truly are, that they don't need all of those other things to make them cool or exciting or fun. And so, you know, you kind of have to take some of those and break all of it down and get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is they're lacking self-love or self-respect. And so part of, you know, what I'm so passionate is giving that back, reminding them that they're amazing without all of it.
And now, Meg, who should take the pledge? Who, if you're listening out there and saying, gosh, does this apply to me? Who should take the pledge?
Sure. Certainly people who want to experience 1 month of pause and reflection, just to kind of see if you can do it, right? That's definitely people we want to engage in this support. And so that might be people who I consider or might consider themselves to be kind of sober curious. What would it look like if I just took a break for a month? At the same time, because we want to shift the narrative and because numbers matter, when we can say to not just young people, but to other people. Like this is a large percentage of our community that commits to this. We also encourage people who maybe are in long-term recovery, particularly folks who might be struggling or who maybe have had a relapse recently. Maybe this is, every addiction is difficult, and we tend to cast judgment on people who have a relapse. And this is a judgment-free zone. Like we are not about that. We are about helping people build community and develop that self-respect and health. So maybe this is an incentive for folks who are in long-term recovery or those who have relapsed. We also want those who have never had a drink. If you've been a teetotaler your whole life, great. Join us. Again, it helps us to shift the narrative and to show young people that there's a lot of people in the communities that support them in their own delay of alcohol use, that support them in their own ability to love themselves enough to be able to enjoy life without alcohol.
Great. Steph, what are your thoughts? What would you like to add to that?
I think that Meg did a good job. I think, a lot of people might want to change, but they don't know how to start. They don't know where to go to start. And I think this is a great place to start, when they're supported, they're not left out there to their own devices, and they have people on board that are here to help them be successful. And so I think anybody that's out there that's just been struggling is like, I don't know where I begin with any of this. This is where it starts.
So we talked about the who, the what, the where. Meg, talk about the how. How do you get connected with Sober October? How do you take part?
Sure. So we have this year, thanks to Steph's suggestion, we are upping the community game, really. So we have developed a private Facebook group that is called Sober October through ACAP's Facebook page. And that will be a place where people can join together in supportive community. So the link to the pledge will be there. So in order to join the group, you have to say, yes, I've signed the pledge, or if you haven't yet, there's a link to sign the pledge to join that way. It will also be on all of our social media. We have a number of posts that will be up, and you can click the link there. You can always email us and we can send you the link. It is prevention@acap-me.org. So any of those ways, you are welcome to join us. And then you have there on the screen some of the other ways that we will be supporting. So if you give us your email, then we'll be, every week, you'll get some encouragement and a tip, those kinds of things that will go straight to your inbox. We will be doing some different events. So we'll get together on a Friday night for dinner somewhere. And if you want to join with other people that are committed to skipping the alcohol, maybe we'll have seltzers, or maybe we'll have a mocktail. I will say one of the things that we learned last year is that mocktails don't work for everyone. Everybody's journey is their own. And for some people, that's a trigger. And depending on the mocktail, they can also be pretty high in sugar. So not everybody needs a different approach, and that's what we support. So those are some of the benefits that you'll get. And then at the end of the month, we do have a prize drawing. We have a soda stream this year as the prize for those who sign the pledge, and stick with us.
And interesting, we haven't mentioned this, but if you're planning to go out to dinner, the bill at the end of dinner will be a lot less without an alcoholic beverage on it. It makes quite a difference, especially in this where the cost of everything is high. It's a good budget diet as well.
It is.
Yeah. So last thoughts before we go from each of you. Steph, let me start with you.
I would just like to welcome anybody that is, just looking for some changes and to come into a community that's going to be supportive. You're going to have a coach and, other people that are right here with you. You're not going to walk through this alone. And, there's going to be a day that's going to be really hard. You're going to come up against edges and you have people in place that can help you work through that. So now is the time. And it costs nothing. It's costs nothing at all. It's
It
just,
might even save you some.
it most definitely will save you some.
Yeah. Meg?
Yeah, I want to reinforce that it's very judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
Myself, there were times when I would think, I don't need a recovery group. I wasn't having that sort of experience. And so it was really hard to think, I kind of like some support, but I don't fit in with some communities. Again, everybody's journey is different. And so I would encourage anyone who really wants a judgment-free zone to join in this effort, to join the Facebook group, to have those conversations, to be able to say, I don't necessarily need long-term treatment. I don't necessarily, but it's also hard, right? And or people who maybe slip up, that's okay, right? None of us is perfect. And so I just want to encourage folks to join us from that perspective. It's open to anyone.
Great. And again, the best way to connect is through Facebook?
The best way to connect is through Facebook or prevention@acap-me.org.
All right. Well, Meg Hegemann and Steph, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of ACAP Today. Sober October starts October 1st, this Saturday. So please do take time this week to get engaged either through the email address that Meg just gave or start with the ACAP Facebook page, and it will get you access to the group from there. So great information and great awareness as we head into, as we talked about last year, Meg, the last quarter of the year where alcohol really becomes a part of a lot of the celebratory rituals of holidays and things like that. So great time to raise awareness as we head into that last quarter of the year when a lot of celebrations happen. So, great. Thank you. Before we leave all of you on this edition of ACAP Today, we end as we do always with our photo of the week. And all year we've been taking you back in time to ACAP photos of the past in honor of our 50th anniversary. And this year we take you back to the year in 1981, where we had this booth at the Northern Maine Forum at their Energy Fair. A member of our team at the time then was in October, which was Energy Awareness Month as well, exhibiting there at the Northern Maine Forum Energy Fair. And with that, that's this week's edition of ACAP Today. We'll see you next week for a brand new edition. Until then, have a great week, everyone.